Hello and welcome to the South Texas International Film Festival. I'm Susan Smith and I am your host tonight for the question and answers here for the Texas Shorts. We just finished watching 9 films and we're joined by numerous of the directors and people involved with the production here. And so thank you very much. And I'm very glad that you are able to join us tonight, and welcome to the people who are watching it live on Eventive. Okay, so we're don't have a whole lot of time. We only have 30 minutes. We have a lot of you, so we're Hello, and welcome to the South Texas International Film Festival. I'm Susan Smith. Okay, I had an echo there, so I had to mute that one. Okay, so I wanted to go ahead and get started by the first director that's here for the films that we actually saw. And that would be Jason with In the Hiding, okay, or In the Hiding. Sorry about that. Where is Jason? Okay, there you are. Okay, all right. Go ahead and unmute yourself if you haven't done so already. Okay, all right. So hi, Jason, and welcome. And I was wondering if you could tell us what your inspiration was for doing this film. I can't hear him. I can't hear him. Can you hear? No? Okay. Tell you what, Jason, I'm going to come back to you. All right. Okay. And let me go ahead and move on to our next director. And that would be Travis. Yes. All right. Yay. Hi, Travis. This is Travis Patton, and he is here with Jacoby. And so, Travis, I was wondering if you could talk to us about your film and what the inspiration was and how you came up with this and decided to make this particular film.
I want to start with, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. First off, thank you very much to South Texas International Film Festival, everyone involved for this on Jacoby. We've had a wonderful festival run over the past year with this little film. Jacoby was 1-to-1 based on the true story of the suicide of my best friend when about 10 years ago this past December. And I had been told by people in the program that I was attending at the University of Texas at Arlington, yeah, and my whole career, they say, write what you know, and this was really the first time I did that. And the only thing I really did was gender swap characters in some attempt to save my sanity while writing something so hard-hitting and personal. But yeah, down to spoken words and conversations, it's really a true story, every bit of the film. So.
Well, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very well done, and I liked the way you weave the different storylines together. And,
thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry for your loss. That was.
Yeah. Oh no, thank you. Yeah.
And so, what's your goal with this film?
Primarily, when tackling a subject, and a lot of short films that deal with death and a subtopic of that of suicide, they primarily focused, or at least the ones that I had seen, on the act itself and figuring out why the character did it is so integrally woven into the plot. And I with the suicide that I experienced and from other people who have unfortunately had such events happen in their lives, you never really find out why. And I wanted to tell a story that address that first, that head on. And we have a character in the film that says you'll have questions and you'll always have these questions, and that's something that I had not seen a lot of suicide media address that. And so I guess my goal with the film was to have that reality of such an event be spoken for.
Okay. And this is a Texas film, so how did you find shooting in Texas? And was it easy to get people to help you and locations and things like that? Although most of it's, I guess, pretty much at one house, so that helped out a lot.
what really was great about that was this came at the end of my time in the program at UTA, so I had a long back catalog of help as far as people that would lend me gear or like lending me like locations or knowing actors and things like that. So it all came together very, very quickly in that regard. And I'm born and raised in Fort Worth, Texas, and I like giving at least some of my films recognition in that regard. So having the story take place in Fort Worth was also important to me as well.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Since we're short on time, I'm going to move on to
Sure.
Say Hi Night with Alex. Hi, Alex.
Hello.
There. Hi. So let me ask you the same thing. How did you come up with this film? What gave you the idea for the story?
Yeah. I'm a grad student at the University of Texas at Austin currently. This is my pre-thesis film. And you know, when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I was really inspired by what people in the program have kind of done with their pre-thesis films. And I had noticed that the topic of identity seemed to kind of come up a lot. And so I kind of let that be sort of just like my lighthouse for the time being of trying to like explore what I want to do with the project. And then I just started asking myself a bunch of questions like, you know, how do I view my own identity? And I think I just kind of stumbled upon that I had just some unhealed trauma that I really wanted to think about and meditate on for a while. And that being, you know, what it's like being Latino and not speaking Spanish and not really identifying or just feeling like really close with my culture, my family, kind of feeling like an outsider within those respective topics. And yeah, I just started really thinking about why I felt this way, how long have I felt this way, and it's dated back since I was in, you know, middle school and high school. And I remember when I was in high school, I got into like a really weird phase where I didn't really like identifying as Mexican or Latino. I just identified as an American. And yeah, I was just so curious as to why I did that. And I think it's because growing up, I just always saw Latinos being represented a specific way. And so, you know, Latinos on TV and media, you know, film, they all speak Spanish. They all have big families that, you know, behave a certain way. And I just kind of didn't really identify with that. I very rarely saw somebody that looked like me and sounded like me in TV and films when I was growing up. So I just really wanted to make a film about, I don't know, putting somebody like me on screen, because I think a lot of different cultures that that are here in the United States kind of go through that, where there's just like this separation of just the family, you know, family being here for so long, and then slowly over generations, you kind of really start losing your connection. And it kind of puts people in, I think, a really weird gray area. And I also just wanted to have a fun story that really just hopefully entertained and made people think about it.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I enjoyed it. I've lived along the South Texas border far too long to have Spanish this bad. Okay. Yeah, so I can sympathize with, understand, like just as a teacher going to lunch and sometimes going, oh, I wish I knew more. Okay, and what are your goals to do with this film?
I really I really wanted to have a lot of fun. I wanted to feel like I could entertain and have a thoughtful story, like have a wholesome or give a wholesome feeling by the end of the film. And just, I don't know, have a much more just dimensional portrayal of Latinos. And I don't know, I think I just wanted to make something that I wasn't familiar with seeing on television and film. And so yeah, I think that was my goal, just to showcase a more dimensional portrayal of Latinos.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we've got Jason back. Hopefully we get audio this time. Hi, Jason.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yes, fantastic. Okay, so this is Jason with In the Hiding. Okay,
Hello.
I'll start with the same question for you. So what was your inspiration? How did you come up with this?
So, thank you, South Texas International Film Festival, first and foremost. It's awesome that you guys are telling our stories and helping us promote things that need to be said and to open people's eyes as well. So I came about this film because I loved Westerns, growing up with spaghetti Westerns with my dad. So for my thesis film in SCAD, which was in Atlanta, Georgia, I wanted to do a Western, and I wanted to do a spaghetti Western, in fact. And I wanted to tell the story of a small little town called Catarina, Texas, here in South Texas, near the border of Mexico as well, because I'm originally from Laredo. So I would always tell my dad, like, I want to be a Texas Ranger, but back in the 1900s, I want to fight Indians and all this stuff. My dad would always tell me, like, Texas Rangers aren't always the good guys. He would tell me these stories about Texas Rangers being the bad guys. And as an adult, that really like stuck in my head. And the more research I did, I found out that over the period of about 20 or 30 years in 1900 to 1930 in South Texas history, Texas Rangers were murdering Mexican immigrants coming across the border. And it's so present to what's going on now. It's still very, what's happening in the border. And I just wanted to just share that story and tell the truth of what happened then, what's happening now, and make that parallel. And just open people's eyes to this facade that we've created in our Texas government, the Texas Rangers were the good guys. Not all of them were bad, but my film really expresses the truth of who they really were and how President Taft just gave them the free, whatever they wanted to do, they did, right? So that's the story I wanted to tell. And it's something that is true to my heart, and it's something that I'm writing a feature right now, and I'm trying to get it funded. So it's my passion, and telling truthful stories that is dark in our history and is kind of disappeared.
And how did you find getting people to help you with this and cooperate with your production?
It was difficult, but we had to have we shared in vision. Once I pitched my story, and I hired a 99% minority cast, a minority crew, and I just wanted them to understand that we are doing this for a reason. All of us as filmmakers, whether producers, directors, DPs, ADs, and we all have a purpose, right? And that's to tell a story and to tell it impactfully. And that's how they got on board, by the vision that they shared with me. And I think that's extremely important in the industry. And we should always tell truth to our crew, our storytellers, and our friends, and see if they want to join us in that journey, which it's a journey. It's hard, and you have to let them know that.
And yeah, I was wondering, because I noticed that I noticed that your film was shot basically with a school referenced in Atlanta. So I was wonder what the Texas tie is. So that makes sense, growing up in Laredo. And
Yeah.
you shot it down here in Texas?
So we shot in Georgia, but we told the Texas story. Yeah, so we found a little town called Canton, Georgia, 30 miles west of Atlanta, and they had this place where they do reenactments of gunfights. And we asked, like, can we rent the entire town? And they said yes. And my location scout was the best in the world. We got it. But we always are saying that this is a Texas story. It doesn't matter where you actually shoot it. The heart of this film is Texas. The person who wrote this film, who wants to tell it, is Texas. Soy Latino, soy Tejano, and I'm going to tell these stories for the rest of my life about Texas, who I am as a Mexican American, and as just a human being living in a world that sees us differently. Correct. So Texas through and through. This is what this film is all about. But yes, filmed in a small town in Georgia.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
All right, and next we have Josh Johnson. He is the DP for the Children's Crusade, and he is with us today. Hi, Josh.
Hi, yeah, thanks for having us. And thanks for showing our film.
Sure. So can you tell us about the film? What was the inspiration for it, and how you, I guess, how you got involved?
Sure. The film is based on a true story that the director and writer, Joe Mary, he's a Marine Corps veteran, and this happened on his second deployment, I believe, in Fallujah, Iraq, in his unit. And so he had wrote this out. Didn't have any filmmaking experience or anything, but he wanted to tell this story. And he was on a veterans trip with a organization that outfits veterans on outdoor activities like fly fishing and stuff like that down on the Devil's River down there. And through a kind of mutual friend, he reached out to us, me and a business partner of mine. I'm up here in Montana, freezing up here. Wish I was down there in the sun. But so we drove down 1,100 miles, met with him, and we shot this down in Georgetown in a literal box that he had built, and put a window in and a door, and shot it over 2 days. And that's kind of how that kind of came about. I don't want to speak too much about what his motivations are and stuff like that, putting the film together, because it's a very personal film to him. But as the DP and the editor too, and a veteran myself, it's super honored to work on this project.
Okay, well, so as a non-Texan, how did you find your Texas filmmaking experience?
It was pretty awesome. Finding so close to Austin, it's pretty easy to find crew, sound, makeup, all that. I was actually stationed at Fort Hood for 3.5 years. Right, I had just moved back and then drove back down, back to right outside of there. So I was pretty familiar with the area. It was a blast. It sucked. It was hot. I mean, it was like August 1st, 100 infinity degrees. But we powered through it.
There are a lot of really good times to shoot films outside in Texas, and August is not one.
Yeah, no.
There's any place in August that's conducive for that. Unless
Yeah, it was a challenge. We had to make sure everyone was staying hydrated and cool, equipment not overheating and all that. It was a very technical shoot. We had stunt coordinator and everything on board there, and there was like the last shot there that you see where the Marine gets killed. We had one chance to make that happen. We couldn't wipe the walls and shoot again. That was it. So it was very challenging, technical, emotional film to shoot. There was a lot of veterans on the set as well. But yeah, we're just super happy how it ended up turning out, and it's making its rounds and people are seeing it. So.
Okay, all right. And next we have Sharon, and she's with When You Clean a Stranger's Home. Hello and welcome.
Hello.
Hi. So where did you get your story for this one?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank y'all for having me. I fell in love with y'all's festival. I don't remember if it was the inaugural year, but I just can't wait for this to be in person again because y'all are amazing.
Thank you.
I was helping one of my siblings write an essay, and as we were going through it together, there were just a lot of images from what she was putting on the page that sounded very familiar to me because, well, she's my half sibling. We have 2 different moms. But both our moms, what they have in common is that they both cleaned houses and would take us to work with them. And so I think around this time, I was working at a place where we had access to a bunch of cameras, and I was looking for a project to do. And It was around the time, I want to say, Trump got elected, or he was campaigning. His voice was just really loud, and I wanted to create something to kind of just like muffle it out some, and so I wanted to kind of show my experience of both cleaning houses with my mom growing up, but also cleaning houses myself. Like when I was going to community college back in Corpus, I would clean houses on the weekends. And it was just like a very vulnerable profession. Like it's a very invisible, like you're working in this space and sometimes the owners are home and sometimes they're overlooking you. Sometimes they're kind to you, you get just like different experiences, but it was something that was very specific to my upbringing. And as a kid, because I wouldn't see, again, kind of like what Alex was saying, like I wouldn't see these images on screen. I always thought it was something I was going through on my own. And thankfully now that my film's been showing around, like I know that this experience is, what do you call it? A shared experience with a big group of people. And kind of like Alex was saying too, I did speak Spanish growing up, but somewhere I also got this idea that that fed into this like cultural and socioeconomical shame that I felt growing up. Like I didn't want anyone to know that I would go clean houses with my mom. And another one of my films is about me not wanting anyone to know that I sold tacos with her out of our van. And now like these are the stories I'm projecting to thousands of strangers across the country. But I really appreciate that I'm doing that now, because I'm connecting also a lot of I guess unprocessed emotions from growing up as well. Yeah, and it's been great just being able to hear other people's stories of how they're like, oh yeah, I cleaned offices with my parents, or just their own way of relating to it too.
Yeah, I liked all y'all's films, but I especially liked yours because it was something I could really relate to as a high school teacher. I had students who were in those situations, and also in Alex's situation, I noticed like over the years, because I taught forever, 42 years. And so like fewer and fewer of my students each year spoke Spanish, which is another reason my Spanish is muy mal. And but one of the things that I guess really hit me was about, I guess, 10 years ago. I've had the same lady who comes and cleans my house for 30 years. And she always brought her daughters, always. I mean, the first one came in the little carrier. And I'm a teacher, so I talked to her when she got older about, when I was on vacation, like, so how are you doing in school? And I would ask her all these questions, and she'd answer, because that's what teachers do. We ask questions. And so when she graduated from college, the oldest daughter, she invited us to her graduation party. And it was like so emotional, because she thanked us for encouraging her through her education. And she said, my mom always said, if you get a good education, you live in nice houses. So you need to, you don't clean them. And I mean, her mom is awesome. I love her. The whole family is wonderful. So yeah, yours really, really hit home. And as well as so many of the others, that we saw in here. So anyway.
Yeah, I remember my mom would say stuff like, well, you've got to learn to clean first so that you could tell the people that you hire when you're older how to clean. And I'm like, okay. Yeah. But I have memories as early back as I have a very vivid memory of being, oh man, I don't remember how old, so I guess that's how vivid the memory is. But holding like a Teddy Ruxpin toy that the girls whose house we cleaned, she had that toy, and I was just like, whoa, I've never seen a toy like this. And that just, I think I took that into making this film, was that memory, that comparison.
Okay, well, I just got our note that we have 5 minutes left. So let me go back through, and one of the things I want you all to address is like, what are you working on now? rather quickly because we have about a minute per person. And if you have any advice for new filmmakers coming up. And Sharon, if you're possibly still unmuted, I'll go ahead and start with you.
Yeah, well, Monday I have my next thing coming up. I'm going into production for a short film about a mom and a daughter who their mobile home gets repossessed, but with them inside of it. And it's an action adventure story with a lot of heart, and just it's definitely a big challenge that I'm taking on for myself. And you can find information about it on social media. It's In Tow Short Film, INTOW short film. And then advice, I would say, just like immerse yourself in a community that is going to support you. Filmmaking is a collective art, and sure, you can do it alone, but you could get things done a lot faster and a lot better by finding the people that like complement, like they are good at the things that maybe you're not as good at, and just find your team and find your support network, and just keep doing it. Yeah.
Okay, Alex, how about you? What do you have coming up next? And what kind of advice do you have for new filmmakers?
Sure. Yeah. So I am in the middle of writing my thesis film. It's called Search and Destroy. It is about, I have my log line actually that I rewrote. It's about a crew of suburban teens that must search for their missing friend who they believe has been taken hostage by the high schoolers. I'll be shooting at this later, probably in May. Advice for future or current, filmmakers that are just newcomers. I actually heard some really great advice that I feel like I took to heart the last few days, which is don't punish yourself for not coming up with the next greatest thing in a certain amount of time. No idea is final. I think there is beauty in discovering while creating, and not being able, it's okay if you don't see the vision or like see it all like right there in front of you or in your head, but just write, draw, and there's wonderful discovery to happen in that process that I think me speaking personally, I take that for granted all the time.
Thank you. And Travis, hi. Can you let us know what you have coming up next?
I'm actually in post-production right now on a new short film. This is my first independent film outside of a film program at a university. It's a Western with science fiction horror elements. And it's a big budget, well, for us, big budget, been a big project that we started in November and we're finishing up now. And for any filmmaker, actually, not just new filmmakers, don't ever stop making content. Like keep producing, keep making projects. Creativity for me is like a shark. If I stop too long, it dies, right? So just don't lose your momentum, even if it's a micro short or just a scene idea that you can shoot with somebody. Just shoot it and keep making product. So that's pretty much it.
Okay. And Jason? Oh, yes. Hi, you're available again. All right.
Hi.
Jason, so what are you working on next?
So right now I'm working on some shorts, writing. I'm about to do a proof of concept for my feature, my horror feature, Latino. That's about the Mexican myths and legends, of like La Chupacabra, La Llorona, La Lechuza, all that thing. So it's a story that I want to tell that can become a series or it can be a feature. So working on a proof of concept now. Gonna try to throw it out there, see who wants to help me with it and just build on it. And my advice for filmmakers is just network. Network. I try to go to everything. I'm actually at a networking event right now with filmmakers. So just meet people, love people, appreciate people, be humble and honest, and you'll go far in this industry.
Thank you. And Josh, so what are you working on next?
So, well, up here, we do a lot of kind of local commercial work and stuff. I know Joe wants to expand on this film and actually make a longer version of telling more of the story outside of what happened, that this short film was about. As far as advice goes, I tell young filmmakers, and I've even spoken to colleges, to students, don't be afraid to ask questions. And like you see something cool that you like, that was done in a film or something, get on Instagram, Roger Deakins, send him a text and say, hey, how'd you do that? So you'd be surprised. These big name filmmakers, maybe someone running their Instagram or whatever, but they'll reply and they'll tell you, oh, we did this. It's like, oh, no way, so yeah, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to copy what you see someone else do. Like there's no, my favorite quote of all time, one of them, it was by Ozzy Osbourne, and he was just sitting in this interview and he's like, no one's original, man. No one's expletive original. Before me, there was the Beatles and stuff, so don't go out there thinking that you're going to make like the some original idea. Everything's been done before. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And the more the more you produce, the more you do, the better you're going to be. That's about it. Yeah.
Okay. And then would you all like to tell us where people can see more of your work? If you have it posted anywhere or things along that line? Whoever wants to jump in?
I'll jump in.
Okay.
They can go to Sharon Arte, ARTE. So SHARONARTE.com. And a couple of my films are up there, and there's a way to join my newsletter and social media, all that good stuff.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, my website, Instagram handle is rosales.film.
Okay.
And Instagram and website is facultymeetingfilms.com.
Okay. And Josh, you have any?
Yeah, sure. Tellmediahouse.com. TELL mediahouse.com.
Okay. Right. Well, thank you all very much for being here today. Like I said, I really enjoyed all your films. I hope that next year you'll submit something again, and maybe we can get together someplace other than on a screen with a bunch of little squares in it and be back in person, because the film festival down here is an awesome experience in person. And if you are tuning in, coming up next, we have at 5:15 The Pitch, which is several people pitching their film ideas. So, please come back if you're watching this now, and come back in at 5:15 and see that. And then we have a Texas feature that screens tonight at 6 o'clock, Fist of Justice, and that has a question and answer after that as well. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you for participating in the South Texas International Film Festival. And thank you for all of you who tuned in for the films and for the Q&A. You all have a good evening.